2024年3月31日、日本時間の朝、アメリカではまだ3月30日の空気が残る中、番組、フォールテリトリーは、静かに、しかし確かな熱を帯びて始まった。その中心にいたのは、佐々木朗希、期待と不安、その両方を背負う存在だった。番組はまず、ロサンゼルス、ドジャースが SNS 上で勝利したという話題から切り出す。エドウィン・ディアスの華やかな登場演出、音楽、光、歓声、それらが混ざり合い、球場は単なる競技の場ではなく、一つの舞台へと変わる。賛否はあれど、その熱狂こそが現代の野球の魅力を押し広げていることは疑いようがなかった。だが、物語はそこで終わらない。むしろ、その裏側にこそ本質がある。佐々木朗希の現状、制球の乱れ、リズムの不安定さ、スプリングトレーニングの数字だけを見れば、決して安泰とは言えなかった。それでもチームは彼を外さない。なぜなら、彼の持つ天井の高さは誰よりも明確だからだ。そして迎えたガーディアンズ戦、彼はわずか1失点に抑え、静かに自らの価値を証明した。言葉ではなく、結果で語る。それが彼のやり方だった。完璧に見えるドジャース。しかし、その足元には一つの問いが横たわる。才能ではなく、強さでもなく、彼らは最後まで健康でいられるのか。その答えは、まだ誰も知らない。だからこそ、この物語には、続きを見届ける価値があるのだ。
I would like to start with the social media controversy because one of the things that really made this network special is that we can cover what everyone's talking about online. The Dodgers winning, sweeping, all the festivities, that's all cool. Is there really a story to the team kind of switching things up for Edwin Diaz with a remix of the song and fans liking it or not liking it? Because online fans are going crazy. I just can't tell if those fans are bitter Mets fans. So your thoughts?
So I actually was not sure what the controversy was for a second, and I was like, oh my gosh, what did I miss? But now this makes some more sense. Also, very nice to see you guys. I noticed no AJ Pierzynski yet again. Not surprised, just disappointed, but certainly very happy to be with you guys. Let's talk some Edwin Diaz. If I was a Mets fan, I would be disappointed too. So I get it. I'd be maybe a little bitter. I actually think the Dodgers entrance is really sick. They brought in Tatiana Tate, a Los Angeles-based musician. She works with Doechii, very accomplished, to do a live trumpet performance both nights. The bullpen catchers and the training staff, they actually brought in mini trumpets of their own, and they play kind of like how Mr. and Mrs. Met did as Edwin is running in. And the stadium loved it. I mean, I was excited as a objective member of the media to see Edwin Diaz come in the first time at Dodger Stadium. So I think it's really cool. I think the Dodgers might have more things planned. Edwin Diaz loved it. The team loved it. When you hear the first kind of drums, the beat drop, and you're just waiting for the trumpets, the lights go down, he's running in. Not since like Kenley Jansen, California Love, have the Dodgers had just insane entrance like that. So Mets fans, I get it. I do. But I don't think there's a lot of controversy here. I actually think the entrance is pretty electric.
I want to talk about Roki Sasaki coming in. Now, he's got his first start coming up. Spring training, wasn't the best. Do we look into this a little bit more, or is it just him trying to tinker with things, trying new pitches, maybe, not showing what he really wanted to do with his full arsenal? So this is a big one coming up here to kind of ease all Dodger Nation, a little bit.
Yeah, we're definitely, I usually am like, let's pump the brakes. Spring training is spring training. But this case is a little different. It was not a good spring for Roki Sasaki. And his troubles were kind of all over the place. It was an erratic command, couldn't establish the fastball. He's working on that third pitch to his arsenal, but that's really hard to do when you can't really command the first two pitches in your arsenal. Kind of out of sync, just kind of lost. Now, the Dodgers have the benefit of the doubt in saying we're the Dodgers and everything's fine. But let's read behind the lines. Roki Sasaki is making his first start today. There was never a question, even through all the trials and tribulations of spring, that he wouldn't be in the rotation. And I can understand a pitcher with that degree, that high of ceiling, should have every chance to be a starting pitcher in the big leagues. But we haven't seen Justin Robleski yet for a reason. And the Dodgers have said that they're going to start the season with using kind of a six-man hybrid rotation. Justin Robleski, very good spring, will be in that piggyback role. That is designed for in case Roki Sasaki looks like spring training, here comes Justin Robleski to the rescue. And the Dodgers have not said that. They've played it kind of coy, but let's read between the lines. Roki Sasaki threw a bullpen on Saturday, regularly scheduled. Do you know who else threw a bullpen on Saturday, gentlemen? Justin Robleski. So the Dodgers are right to say, let's calm down. It's just spring training. We believe in Roki Sasaki. Of course, they're going to say that about their guy. But what's going on behind the scenes will tell you that, there is some concern. And they're also correct to do that, because if the Dodgers go out there and don't have a backup plan, because Roki has really not given them anything to be confident about, then that's kind of just organization malpractice. So we'll see Roki Sasaki. If it does not go well, Dave Roberts will not hesitate to get to the bullpen for Justin Robleski. And the whole reason they had a hybrid pitcher kind of to start was because they weren't sure about Shohei Ohtani's pitching progression coming back from the WBC. The good news there, he's looked fantastic since coming back. So we should see a full strength Shohei on Tuesday, but they got to get through Monday first. And that's where Justin Robleski comes in.
All right. I'm big into conspiracy theories. So tell me if I'm wrong or way off, or I'm maybe pretty close on this one. Roki Sasaki came over from Japan. The Dodgers would love to keep their fingerprint, their stamp in Japan, bringing the best players over, because no other team really had a shot at getting Roki Sasaki, as much as everyone says. Do you feel like maybe this is an automatic, hey, he was going to start no matter what, because, hey, we don't want to ruin our foothold in Japan with other pitchers that are over there. If they see a player comes over, has a little bit of struggles, and then gets sent to AAA, this doesn't look good for us.
So I love a conspiracy theory too, but I don't think that's the case necessarily in this stance, because you look at where the Dodgers are. Sasaki coming back and doing what he did in the postseason, they don't have their second in a row World Series championship if Sasaki doesn't come out of the bullpen the way that he did. But 30 minutes after the Dodgers won the World Series, President of Baseball Operations Andrew Friedman was on the field at Rogers Center, got a question about what Sasaki's role will be next year, and he said, a starter. And the reason for that is, again, because of the potential, the high ceiling, the skill set. This is one of the best pitchers to come out of Japan. I think there was more hype around him than there was Yamamoto. Baseball's a crazy sport, because look at Yamamoto now. And that's given all of Yamamoto's accomplishments in Japan as well. But if you're the Dodgers and we're looking at the actual logistics of their rotation, Blake Snell is on the IL. Gavin Stone is on the IL. Outside of River Ryan, who had a great spring but is coming off of TJ, and the Dodgers are right to monitor his innings limit. He's in AAA right now. They don't really have a lot of depth in their rotation that they feel comfortable pushing in March and April. Now, the Dodgers do have a depth in general, especially compared to other teams. But with Snell and Gavin Stone out, that kind of puts the onus on Roki to be in the rotation no matter what, because they need him, especially with the aforementioned point of them not knowing what Shohei Ohtani would look like after the WBC. So day one of spring training, Dave Roberts, Roki Sasaki is going to be in the rotation. That was the same case after every single bad start, because quite frankly, they need him. They're lucky to have Justin Robleski available to be in that piggyback role, but you're doing everybody on the team, especially Sasaki, a disservice by not starting him and at least giving him 2 to 3 starts to prove that spring was an anomaly. If we're still having this conversation in mid-April and Justin Robleski looks as good as he did in spring, then I think it's pretty obvious to make that switch. But right now, given where each pitcher is in the Dodgers depth chart necessarily, it makes sense to have Sasaki come in the rotation.
Will Smith, you talked a little about him on Twitter, it looks like here, X, excuse me. How clutch of a athlete he is, how awesome he is. And for me, I feel like people know about him, but do they really know about how good of a baseball player he is? I feel like it goes unnoticed, maybe because I'm on the East Coast and it's out on the West Coast. I know the West Coast knows, but talk a little bit about him and just how clutch this guy really is.
Yeah, I forget who said it after Saturday's game, but someone's asked if Will Smith was the most underrated clutch player in baseball. And I think there's a really good argument to be made there, because this dude, I think he's hit 53 go-ahead homers in the regular season in his career. And that's not even counting all of his postseason accolades. And we were talking to Will after the game, birthday, bobblehead. It's kind of just a given that he was going to have a game like that, go-ahead homer in the 8th, win the game. He was just like, I'm just calm in those situations. And I think Will Smith has an innate ability to slow the game down. And you're right that I think maybe it does go under the radar for a lot of baseball. Maybe it is the West Coast. Maybe it's just because of the amount of sheer stars on that team. But Will Smith is very much a member of that star group. And it goes just, again, under the radar, because maybe people just expect the Dodgers to do this. I know I certainly do. All three games, the Dodgers were trailing 2-0 at some point. The last two of the series, they were trailing 2-0 in the eighth. Guys, I didn't even start writing my story because I knew that lead wouldn't hold. That's just what the Dodgers do. They just win baseball games. And when you have a player like Will Smith, and honestly, it's kind of emblematic of the whole lineup. He's so patient. He spoils pitches. He trusts his swing. He has the speed where he can foul off, spoil off the off speed, and wait for the fastball because he knows his swing is fast enough to catch up to 100 when he gets it. That's kind of the Dodgers all around. They know their swing. They know what pitch they want. And they know they're going to get on base and score. And it just kind of takes all the pressure out of it. Will Smith is the perfect example of that.
All right, overreaction. Which is more of an overreaction? The Dodgers will win 120 games, or Kyle Tucker will hit below 230 this year?
Oh, Kyle Tucker he's a perfect Dodger. I mean, he's done everything that the Dodgers need him to do already. I love that moment for him on Friday's win, delivering that key hit to win the game, and then sets the table for the Edwin Diaz first save opportunity. The Dodgers could, though, very much. When you say 120, you're just kind of like, come on, nobody does that. And after 3 games, you're like, maybe this team can do that. But as far as what Kyle Tucker has brought, early returns, I mean, he is the number 2 hitter on the best lineup in baseball. And what that's really allowed to do is, I think Mookie Betts really enjoys being in the 3-hole now, and it's kind of slotted everybody down. Freddie Freeman is hitting 5th against lefties. That's never really happened in his career before. It just elongates that lineup and makes it so much more dangerous. I think we're going to see a huge year out of Kyle Tucker, and I think we're going to get baseball is going to, maybe 29 other fan bases are going to get very tired of seeing the same headline over and over, Dodgers win.
All right. Well, I want a little, for those on the podcast crowd, I'm drinking some water, but this is Katie Wu drinking the Kool-Aid in Dodger Stadium.
That's right.
I mean, you've been there for like 3 minutes, and you're already sounding like Alana Rizzo. But either way,
hear me out. Hear me out. I am watching a different level of baseball, and I have so much respect for the St. Louis Cardinals, where I spent the last 5 years, and they're rebuilding, and it's just a different quality of baseball, and I'm enjoying seeing come from behind wins. So we can circle back in May. Maybe Roki does have a horrendous April, or maybe that pitching depth isn't as deep as we think. Maybe some guys slump. I personally just don't see it. I'm high on life, guys. It's March 30th. Let's live a little.
I love that.
What is their weakness? What is their weakness? Because when you look at the lineup, as a I don't watch the Dodgers every day. You watch the lineup and you're like, I was feeling for Zach Gallen. Zach Gallen, I think, is a really good pitcher, but the first night he's out there and it's like, all right, we got this. And then Miguel Rojas gets a hit and you're like, oh crap, back to the top of the order again. So what is the weakness of this team?
Yeah, no kidding. Face that lineup third time through at your own risk. Even Andy Pages is a star. But I think the weakness does go, it's health, specifically with that rotation. Blake Snell, I don't think there's a true timetable for him. Maybe mid-May earlier would be better for the Dodgers. But if you have one more starter kind of hit the IL or have a setback, it becomes a little dicey because they do have guys they can use. Again, you can use Wroblewski, and I think we're going to see him as a starter a lot. You can use River Ryan, but you really want to be cautious coming back from TJ, and you don't want to overuse him, especially early in the season when pitching injuries are the most common for that time of year. And Emmett Sheehan, I don't want to nitpick after one start, but the velo's been a little down, and hasn't been a lot of command or sustainability of the stuff. First inning has looked great. Second, third, fourth, the command or the velo has dropped a little bit. So if I'm nitpicking there, I think the weakness of this Dodgers team would be just making sure that the starting pitching stays healthy. Before the season started, I would have said the bullpen, but the bullpen is through 11 2/3 scoreless innings. So maybe not, but I do think it comes down to pitching health and keeping that rotation healthy, because if the rotation isn't healthy, you start overtaxing the bullpen. And that's what the Dodgers did last year. And it did create a lot of problems down the stretch for them. So it's kind of a cop out to say health because all 30 teams need health. But for this Dodgers team in particular, the rotation is so important. It has the potential to be one of the best they've ever assembled if they can stay healthy, because right now the depth is a little thinner than I think most people perceive.